Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2020 census discussion with the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County. I am Andy Poley, and I am about to turn my camera on so you can see me. And my guest is Robyn Cryer, and she's going to turn her camera on now that we're here live on Facebook. So the League of Women Voters is so thrilled to bring you all a discussion, a very casual conversation about Census 2020. So you can learn a little bit about how impactful the census is to all of us and how you can help us get the most accurate count of the residents of our county. It's very important to all of us that we have an accurate count. And so Robyn is going to help us learn a little bit about the census and why it's important, how it impacts us, what we get out of the census, and why the census even exists. So just a reminder about the League of Women Voters, it is election season. You may have heard there's an election on its way. We will be super busy in the days to come. We have 18 candidate forms that we are queuing up over the next, the last 2 weeks of September, the first week of October. All your local representatives and elected officials will be in candidate forms with us. We're super excited to bring that to you, and we'll be announcing that schedule very, very soon. We are currently working on the pagination of our voter guide so that we can print that out in mass quantities and get that out to the public. Sponsorships from businesses would be highly appreciated. It's not the cheapest thing to do to print all of those things. And the more we can print, the more people we can reach. So if you're interested, please visit our website at lwvslc.org. You can submit sponsorship right there on that page. Your logo will go directly into the voter guide, and you'll be part of the solution. The last thing that we're going to do is there are 6 amendments on your ballot, whether you knew it or not. So the 6 amendments need a little bit of explanation. They're not too terribly difficult to understand, but we do want to make sure that you know all the facts about those amendments. And in the days to come, we will be scheduling live Facebook Live events like this and private Zoom meetings with organizations where we will explain to you exactly what each of those amendments is for and what it will do if you vote yes or if you vote no. We are a nonpartisan organization and we take no position on any of this. We simply get the information to the voters so that you guys can make your informed decisions. So anyways, that's that. I think I'm done with that part of it. So I'm going to move on to the Census 2020 part. And like I said, I'm so excited to have this conversation with Robyn Cryer. She is with Census 2020. And so I'm going to turn it over to her so she can tell you who she is, and what she does with the census, and just a little bit about what the heck the census actually is.
Thank you for having me, Andy. Hello, everyone. So I am Robyn Cryer. I am currently a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau for the 2020 decennial census. And what that means is that I have been going around for the past year now and a half, because I got extended because of COVID, to local governments and cities and organizations, faith-based organizations, and telling them how important the census is, what it's for, that it's safe and secure, and asking them to partner with the census by spreading the word, whether that's to their staff, their employees, their friends, their patients, their parents, whoever it may be, so that the word gets out. If you can educate people how important something is, then you can motivate them to actually do what it is that they need to do. And as I've been going around, I've been finding that most of the people are like I was before I took this job, very uninformed about how important the census was. I was a Marine, so was my husband, and my whole adult life before we returned in 2010, we were stationed abroad at different places. And when we got back in 2010, I got this thing in the mail called the census, and I looked at it and I threw it away because I did not know. And I threw away the reminders, and then finally I got a knock on the door, and the lady said, "You didn't do your census?" And I looked at her with my dirty, hairy look, you know, because she's at my door and my husband's deployed and I've got little kids and she shouldn't be there, in my opinion. And she said, "Well, ma'am, you have an American flag and a Marine Corps flag. Aren't you patriotic?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "Well, do you defend the Constitution?" And I said, "I do." And she said, "Well, the census is in the Constitution." I said, "I did not know." And so now, 10 years later, I am a partnership specialist telling people how important it is to do the census. I have 5 counties now: St. Lucie, Martin County, Indian River County, Highlands, and Okeechobee. And I'm glad to be here with you today.
Fantastic. So I'm glad that you touched on the fact that the census is part of the Constitution. The Constitution is this massive document written in language that most of us would never speak and barely can read, because let's be honest, it's pretty formal. But the census is part of the Constitution. So where in the Constitution do you find information about the census?
That's a great question. It's in Article 1, Section 2. And actually, I was just asked recently to be one of the readers for a live reading for a youth group that they're going to do virtually, because September 17th is Constitution Day. And I had never read that section of the Constitution before. And it is in different words that we don't typically use, but the census is there. And our forefathers actually put it in there to ensure that there would be equal representation. So it's the apportionment of the 435 seats that are in the House of Representatives. They use the count of the nation that they do every 10 years. They enumerate, they count, and then they divide up those seats per state based on the population. So yes, it's there, Article 1, Section 2.
Right there in the middle of the Constitution. Yeah, it's interesting. So the league, personally, like the league, we're very, very focused on fair maps and making sure that people are represented appropriately during their votes. We educate them about their elected officials and all of that. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but can you tell me a little bit about what an accurate count does for, public funding? What does it do? What does it serve? And why is it so important?
Yes. So one of besides representation, one of the other main things that the census data is used for is determine where more than $675 billion of federal funding is disseminated annually. Now, we do this every 10 years. So over the decade, that means almost $7 trillion of federal funding. And that federal funding is for, important things. One of the ones that's near and dear to my heart is free and reduced school meals for children. And then health insurance for children that their parents can't afford insurance for them any other way. And Head Start program and WIC, Women, Infants, and Children program. All of these things that people are aware of, SNAP and TAMP and veterans programs and programs for people that are experiencing disabilities. Even things currently like COVID-19 testing, it's free COVID-19 testing. Well, where did that money come from? Well, it's federally funded. And unemployment insurance. People have lost their jobs because of COVID and they need unemployment insurance to get by, federally funded. Also, the Treasure Coast Food Bank, some of their monies that they get to feed the children over the summer and to feed the people who really they're food insecure. Largely now, there's more people because of COVID, federally funded. So yes, the federally funded portion of distributing based on the census data is one of the reasons why we've got to be sure that everyone is counted.
So let me ask you, since we now, you've very well explained why it's so important for some of the social programs and safety nets that we have for people when they reach hard times, because that's really what those are for. So we now understand how important that is. How accurate is our count right now? What's the response rate here?
Let me look at my paper because I haven't memorized it since I have so many counties now. So as of September 8th, the nation is currently at 65.5%. And that means 65.5% of households throughout the nation have self-responded. This is the percentages that I'm telling you. The state of Florida has a 62.2%. And by the way, in 2010, Florida had a 74% response rate. Now, we're currently at the point where we have 20 days left of responding. And so it's really crucial if anyone watching, listening has the means to spread the word. please spread the word that if they haven't done their census yet, they need to do it now, right away. Let me continue on to let you know that Florida is currently in 31st place in the nation as response rate. Yeah.
We can do better. We can do better than that.
We certainly can. St. Lucie County, which is where I live, is 65%. In 2010, we had a 75% response rate. Port St. Lucie is at 72.6. Fort Pierce is at 50.4. So this is one of the low response areas that we really need to reach out to target strategically, to raise awareness, to give incentives, to motivate, educate, and get people to do their census. And we do only have 20 days left. You may have heard, Andy and listeners, that there has been a court order. There is for extending the census count through October. I can't comment a lot about that, but I can give you the telephone number for the Census Bureau's PIO, Public Information Office, the telephone number, and the email as well. I just have to find where I put it in my notes so that I can give it to you.
No problem.
Let's see. Okay, here it is. The telephone number is, it's Washington, D.C. So it's 301-763-3033. And the email is pio@census.gov. So if you have any questions about the litigation, the court order towards extending the response time, that's where you would ask those questions.
Great. Cool. All right. I put that in our Facebook chat, so it's ready to go now. So if anybody has any questions about that. So Fort Pierce is at 50%, huh?
Yes.
Oh, so let me ask you this. In my real life, in my other non-league life, I work in the foster care system. So I work for Communities Connected for Kids, which is the local community-based care organization that provides services to the 4-county area for kids who are abandoned, neglected, abused, all of that. So we deal with a lot of families that use those very services that you talked about. What can an organization like mine do to help those people understand, those people they come in contact with, help them understand how important their count is, that they need to do their census? Like, how can they make that clear to them?
Yes. So with 20 days left, possibly more if it gets extended, one of the main things that agencies and individuals too, look, everybody has a ring of people in their life, a sphere of influence. So this is really for everyone. Social media is so huge today, all the different platforms. And I can give you at the end, Andy, my email address, that if anyone wants some social media pictures and messages to put out on Facebook and Twitter and all of the different things, I can provide those to you. They're professionally made. Some of them are funny. One of them was an empty roll of toilet paper on a rack, and it says, if you want the resources, do your census. So I can provide that, but definitely social media. Any virtual outreach now, since COVID's going on, people aren't out and about as much as they used to be. So e-blast, if you have a membership, if you have staff and employees and parents, patients, if you could email census information to them, let them know there's still time to do it by September 30th. The website's 2020census.gov. You can call 844-330-2020 if you want to do it. There's language assistance. These are the things that people need to know. If you have newsletters, if you have a radio program or a television program, if you have virtual meetings over Zoom like this, or Skype, or put the census on every single agenda that you have and mention it verbally. I always tell government officials, anytime you have a platform or a microphone in your hand, mention the census. It really needs to be, it's a C, it really needs to be connected with the other C, COVID, if they're both mentioned at the same time. while you're sequestered in your house because you're being safe, jump on your device, your laptop, your Surface, your phone, and do your census. It'll take about 5 minutes. It's about 10 questions, and it's the most impactful 5 minutes that you can do for the next 10 years. People could also, we have something that we do called Mobile Questionnaire Assistance, MQA, where we can send census staff to some place where you have actual foot traffic in person. So it's great for like food distributions. We can have some staff there that while people are waiting in their cars, they can walk over to them and say, hi, have you done the census yet? Let me tell you a little bit about it. You could pull out your phone right now and do it. It'll take about 3 to 5 minutes. Oh, you don't have a phone? Well, I have mine with me. Do you want to give me your information and I'll type it in for you? So things like that, Andy, can be done. If churches have in-person services going on, we could certainly send staff there, but you don't need census staff to do it. I mean, you can have volunteers. You could have your people that greet people at the lobby. Ask the people, have you done your census? If not, you know, here's a little flyer that I can send you. It will tell you the link to go to. It'll take about 3 minutes. You're going to be waiting for the doctor anyway. So why don't you go ahead and do that? And it means a lot to our community, things like that. Also, if people have any, well, like this, Facebook Live platforms, anything that can be expounded exponentially, you're going to be doing several other things. If even just the logo is on a website where people can go on and tap that and the link and fill it out, all those things are very helpful.
Cool. So yeah, we have on our website, lwvslc.org, we have a link to the 2020 census. We've actually had it up for a couple of years now, just getting people prepared for it. And, you know, there was lots of information about the census before the census started. So we were already trying to get a little foot traffic to the website so people were ready for it when it came. So you mentioned that there's only about 10 questions on the census. So what are those questions?
Well, I won't tell you all 10, but I'll tell you more of what's not on there. The citizenship question that was proposed is not on there. We'll never ask for social security number or anything about finances. This is so people can make sure they're not getting scammed. But it's the generic information, your name, your date of birth, your address. Those 3 things are crucial for so many different things. One, they're linking your name and your address and your date of birth to, well, this person's date of birth indicates that, and their geographic location, the address, we know that certain geographic areas are ethnicities or races, and we know the financial components of those areas. And so as we see this information come in and that there's a child born, and so they're an infant, we can start thinking, okay, that child is in an area where they might need WIC, right? Women, infants, and children, money for formula or nutritional food. This child in the next 10 years is going to be 10 years old. By the time we do the next census, they're going to enter into the school district. And so the schools need it for planning how many classrooms we're going to need, how many buses. And so the basic information that we need to determine all of the decisions that we make, those are the questions that are on there. And I want to make sure people know the census doesn't just do something once every 10 years. The Census Bureau is constantly working all the time. Excuse me. One of the other things that we do is a survey. It's called the American Community Survey. It's still by the Census Bureau. It's much, much longer. It's not the 10 questions of the 2020 census. It's multiple pages. It asks for all kinds of specific information, down to even, you know, your household income. And it's used for lots of other decisions, but people shouldn't be confused and think, oh, well, I just did that long census form. I'm not going to do this. It's totally different. This is the one. This decennial census is the one that shapes our future for the next 10 years. for representation and resources and redistricting and so many other things.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very important. So let's say that, I mean, I've already completed my census because, you know, anybody who knows me and has been around me enough knows that I love me some Constitution. So I know how important this census is, and my husband and I completed it the same day that we got it. But if I had accidentally thrown my flyers or notices away and now I can't do it because I don't have the code, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So you don't need that code. That code it's geocoded to your address and to the address that we mailed that form to. But maybe you moved. You're not even at that address, so you didn't get the paper. So you don't need the code. When you go online to 2020census.gov, there's going to be a little spot where it asks for your code, and right underneath of that, it says, don't have the code, responding without the code. You click that, and it just means you type in your whole address instead of it auto-populating like it would have without the code, or with the code, it would have auto-populated. So code not necessary, the paper's not necessary. If we can just get the word out that you can respond at 2020census.gov. As soon as they go there, there's a link. It says respond now. And if they click it, it's going to open up and walk them right through it. I literally timed myself. It took me 4 minutes. And that's because I was taking notes of what each page looked like so that I could tell my partners, look, it's going to be like this. So it really doesn't take much time. You don't need the code. I'm so glad that you asked. You can also call and do it over the phone. But if you do still have your paper that you got way back in March, you can still fill that out and put it in the self-addressed paid postage envelope and mail it in. They do need to be postmarked September 30th for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, so I know that the other way that we do the enumerating of our residents, because it's not citizens, it's residents, correct?
Yes.
So the other way that we do that is once we have gotten as many self-reports as humanly possible, the next thing we do is we send out census workers. So what should a person expect when a census worker, an enumerator, comes to their door?
Yes. So, and that actually started August 11th. We started going out to doors, knocking on doors like that lady did to me in 2010. And you're going to be able to recognize them. One, they're going to be in PPE. So they're going to have on their mask, and they're going to have a badge, a census badge. It's watermarked with the Census Bureau. They're going to have a bag, like a laptop bag. It's big, like a laptop bag. And it's blue stripe. It says census real big on the side of it. Those things aren't out there for just everyone. Only the census takers or enumerators are going to have those. There is also a telephone number that if anyone suspects that this person, I don't know if this person is truly a census taker or not, and I neglected to have that, but I can get it to you. Maybe you can type it in later to include it on the thing. That you can call to actually ask a census employee at the U.S. Census Bureau, this person, Robyn Cryer, is standing at my door asking me to give her information. Is she really a census taker? And they can answer you on the spot with that information. I do also have a flyer. It's a phenomenal flyer. It has a picture, it's an infographic, and it shows all the different ways you can recognize a census taker. And then another flyer talks about non-response follow-up, NARFU, we call it for short. And it gives you all of the different information about if you don't answer the door, then they'll revisit. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., they're making their visits because this is so important. And they'll revisit a house up to 5 times in different times trying to get somebody there. And if you never answer, they will leave a packet on your door. And this flyer actually shows you a picture of what's left in that packet. So it'll be the paper version with a self-addressed stamped envelope, postage paid, that you can fill it out with a pen, put it in and mail it, but you must mail it and it must be postmarked on or before September 30th.
So the information that you guys collect when you do the census, if a census worker is to come to, say, my house and collect the information from me, how safe and secure is it?
Extremely, extremely. It's protected by law, several laws actually. It cannot be, your personal information cannot be used for anything other than this data that's going to inform the representation and the resources. Can't be used for anything else. It can't be released or accessed by any individual, no matter how high ranking that person may be. It can't be released to any agency like the CIA, FBI, CIA, I said CIA already, all the alphabets, ICE, any of them, IRS. It can't be released to any other agency, not local law enforcement, no one. It's completely secure, confidential, and it's sealed for 72 years, Andy. I never knew that until I got this job. 72 years, I know how old I'm gonna be. I'm probably not even gonna be here anymore. And 72 years. And then, you know, when I say it's sealed, when it's unsealed, it's released to the National Archives, which is where people who do genealogy research, they can tap into that. So yes, it's very, very, very safe and secure and very quick and easy.
So let's talk a little bit about the League's kind of obsession with with the census, because the League is a little obsessed with it, we'll admit. But it does lead into our mission in society to make elections fair and free and open to people. And one of those initiatives is to have fair maps. And fair maps is all about redistricting. And trust me, I'm not going to go into the whole redistricting thing right now, because that's a whole year out. It's a year after the census is completed that they submit that data to the states to do the redistricting and to Congress to do the redistricting. So we don't have to do any of that stuff. But let's talk about what happens when we do our count and people have moved, because we know in Florida, people come here from all over the country to live. They move here after they've retired. They come here to, you know, move to Miami because it's fun, or Port St. Lucie because it's fun. And Port St. Lucie's great. It really is.
Yes, it is.
So, but people move here from all over the country. So what happens when one state ends up with way more people than they had in the last census?
So what happens when states end up with way more people, like Florida? You know, we had a boom when people seemed to have moved from the northern cold states to Florida. And when that happens, we gain seats. So in 2010, Florida was the only state that gained 2 seats, meaning 2 members in the House of Representatives. We gained 2. For those poor states that those people left and came here, they lost seats of representation. And keep in mind too that it lasts for the next 10 years. So all the more reason why we want to make sure that we get everyone counted. I do have a map here. I'm sorry, Andy knows I'm old and I'm not very technical, so I didn't have a slide to put up. But I have a map, an old-fashioned paper map. I'm going to put up here. You can see the darker blue is the states that gain seats. So Texas actually gained 4 seats. Florida gained 2. And then, let me just look at it and tell you, because I can't see it when it's backwards. The light blue were states that gained 1. And then we had a lot of the states, all of the tan, they didn't budge at all. They stayed the same. The light green states, they lost seats, 1. The dark green lost 2. So they want to make sure that they get an accurate count. Maybe they only had a 75% count last time. Maybe some people moved away from there. But if they can get 100% count this time, it might help them not lose seats and to maybe even gain seats, or at the very least, stay the way that they are. But everybody wants to gain seats. The population count really matters.
And I am actually a transplant. from Illinois. I moved here when I was about 20. And so I've been here for 6 months. No, man, there's no way I'm pulling that off, but I've been here for a while. So I've made it through a couple of censuses as a Floridian resident, which means that I was part of the results in Illinois losing just a little bit. But I completely understand, and I want people to really grasp the gravity of representation in Congress and how important it is. When your state is as large as Florida's is, if we have 22 million people living here, that's like the estimate. The last census only had us at somewhere around 17 million. So we've had a huge increase over the last 10 years. Representation is incredibly important in Congress. We have a lot of very specific issues that we need to address right here in Florida. We have our coastlines, we have fracking offshore, we have an environment that is incredibly fragile and we need to take care of it. We have senior citizens that are moving here because they've retired. We've got people moving in from other countries. We've got to take care of Disney. There's all kinds of things that have to get done. And so the representation in Congress is really important. And even a 95%, I mean, 100% is, you know, pie in the sky, I guess, but a 5% or 10% increase to our count will make a big difference when it comes to our representation in Congress. So yeah, it's not just about getting funding for social services or being prepared for population increases and changes in the ages of the people that live here. It really impacts everyone. And I know for our younger viewers, I know that especially those of you who may have voted in the last presidential election or are going to vote for the very first time in this presidential election, the Electoral College is not necessarily your favorite part of the way we do business here in the United States. But it is significantly impacted because the Electoral College is linked to the number of senators and representatives you have in the House. It is directly linked. So the Electoral College votes also shift. That's why it's incredibly important that we all complete our census. I'm trying to think if there's anything else you did. You did such a great job of covering it was so comprehensive, everything you told us. Let me see if I don't see any questions. You must have like answered everyone's questions. Good job. Because that never happens. Everybody's got a question at some point. But you did a great job. So is there anything else that you want to get out there for people to know about the census?
I think one thing that I failed to speak to, especially since we live in Florida, where we have hurricanes, is that, and you had mentioned, you said it so adequately, that we need to count residents, not just citizens, but residents. And the answer is yes, every single person who is here, we need to count them. And one of the reasons why is because locally, and pertaining to Florida, it's here, near and dear to our hearts. Local governments use the census data to determine their evacuation routes if we have hurricanes. They look at, well, where do we have high concentrations of people that are going to be trying to get out of here? So we need to have them evacuate in these different ways. They also use it for determining how many shelters that we need to have. And then FEMA, when they come to help, they need to know how many people we really have to provide water bottles and all the things that we need. Now, just imagine if we have this pocket of this area and the people aren't documented or they're scared for some reason and they're not filling it out. And so they didn't get counted at all. They didn't respond. And they hid when the census takers come to count them. Then a hurricane hits and we all get out to the evacuation routes and there's this large population of people on the roads that they didn't know to plan for. So we're all sitting there. In Germany, they called it a Stau. It's a traffic jam. You're not moving, you're sitting there, and here comes the hurricane. So really, it's important in every single way that you can imagine that every person gets counted. Even babies. In 2010, 5% of children 5 and under didn't get counted. And so we need to make sure that children are counted. And one of the reasons why I already mentioned, you know, in 10 years, they're going to be in the school system and have a needed maybe multiple different programs. So, and then the last thing I wanted to add, Andy, is, you know, we get one chance every 10 years to do this, to shape our future. You can see my tagline, our tagline over my head, shape your future, start here with the census. It literally impacts us in every way. Road work, you want some potholes fixed? We need money to fix the potholes. We got a bridge in Stewart that wasn't doing well. It started cracking. We need money to fix that bridge for the next 10 years. So, and the representation, you've so adequately spoken to that. It affects us for the next 10 years. So please, everybody, do your census. Tell everyone you know. I mentioned everybody has a sphere of influence. You might be like my husband, he's on 3 men golfing leagues. You know, each one of those has like, you know, 20, 30 guys on there. Tell them, tell your knitting groups, tell your Rotary and Lions and Elks groups, please send it out on social media and e-blast. You can help, you can really help make a difference. Thank you. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
So if anybody wants to reach Robyn, you can contact us at the League and I'll get you connected right to her. Our email address is lwb.stluciecounty@gmail.com. It's STLUCIECOUNTY. So yeah, and you can contact us. You can do that directly to my email. That's fine. Or you can get us through the our website. We have a question little thing that you can fill out and you can put the question in there. I want to talk to Robyn, and it'll get to me and I'll get you hooked up to Robyn. Or you can, is there a way to reach you through a website?
Yes, actually, let me give you my email address, if that's okay. It's Robyn with a Y, ROBYN.K.Cryer, and it sounds like a crybaby or C like census, CRYER, Robyn.K.Cryer at 2020census.gov.
20. All right, I'm typing it in right now. So it will be on the Facebook chat as well. So if anybody is looking for it, they'll be able to find it there. Yes, and I hope that people reach out to you and try and kind of, you know, get you kind of hooked up with their groups or get information from you where they can spread the word, because it is important. It's very important. And I think that you've done a really great job of showing how it touches all of us in some way, shape, or form. It's not as simple as just, it's a head count. It's not just a head count. No. It really does change the future. So, so I really appreciate that you spent the time with me today. I am so grateful for that. And I hope that people follow through on their census and we get our response rate up to like 100%. Would be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy, for having me.
Sure. So everybody, I just want to remind all of you that the last day to register to vote in order to be able to vote in the November election is October 5th. You can do that on the vote411.org website, where you will also have the opportunity to learn about candidates and the amendments that are on your ballot. If you are part of an organization that would like to have a presentation of the amendments, you can just reach out to the League and we will gladly set that up for you. National Voter Registration Day is September 22nd. So if you need a good day to register to vote, that's a great day to do it. Go ahead and register on vote411.org and stay tuned to the League of Women Voters on Facebook so that you know when all of the Facebook Live candidate forums are coming, because they are coming in beginning September 22nd, and it's all of the local, it's all of the local races. So everything that you need to know about candidates, you're going to find out long before Election Day. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.